Human senses cannot grasp the unseen. One of the reasons that it's difficult for people to come to faith, it was difficult for me to come to faith, is because we use our eyes, our ears, our sense of touch, our sense of smell, our sense of movement. We lose our senses to figure things out. And for many of us, if our human senses can't grasp something, it can't be real. 1 Corinthians 2:14, but a person who denies spiritual realities will not accept the things that come through the Spirit of God. They all sound like foolishness to him. He is incapable of grasping them because they are disseminated, discerned, and valued by the Spirit. We believe in the wind because we can feel it. We believe in the sky because we can see it. But it's harder for us to believe in Jesus because he's not here for us to see him. And because our senses don't touch him and don't feel him, we think, how can he be real? How can God be real? That really is an indictment on us that we are purely humanistic, purely fleshly. Now, some people say, well, I need evidences. Well, you can go get evidences. There's a tremendous amount of literature that gives you evidences that Jesus existed, that God exists, that use archaeology and discoveries to show you that, hey, look at all these things.
The Holy Grail, Dr. Jones.
But I'm going to tell you something, and a lot of people won't want to hear it. At the end of the day, you're still going to have to come down to faith. You're still going to have to say, I've got to understand that my human senses can't grasp the unseen world. And here's the thing. When we decide we don't want to become a Christian, it's not because we don't have enough information or enough facts. It's because we're denying spiritual reality. We're saying, going back to our previous episode or our previous thought, we're saying we're the center of the universe as human beings and there's nothing else. I believe that when we sense that there's somebody else out there, alien forces, when we hear that bump in the night, when we think they're a ghost, that is the part of us that's spiritual, yearning for us to be aware there's something more. And one of the reasons when we become a Christian, we get the Holy Spirit, is because the Holy Spirit enters us and literally makes us more capable of grasping the unseen world, of sensing that it is there. We don't sense it with our eyes. We don't sense it with our ears. We don't sense it with our touch. We don't sense it with our smell. We don't sense it with our bodily movement. We sense it through the power of the Spirit working in our life. Now, this has been something that for many parts of Christianity has been completely erased. And you know what? There are many Eastern religions who have a better grasp on the fact that there's something more than Christianity does. And we should learn from that. We should look and say, wait a minute, am I operating basically with a book of rules humanly on the earth instead of understanding, no, there's so much more. Human senses cannot grasp the reality of the unseen world. They can't grasp it. Do you realize that in religion, in Christian religion, in the study of Christian religion, as well as Eastern religions, as well as all religions, there's something called the ultimate reality. Merriam-Webster defines it as something that is the supreme, final, and fundamental power in all reality. That's what ultimate reality is. I'm going to give you a little something to throw around with your friends. If you're sitting down at the table, maybe you're playing Trivial Pursuit, you can drop some, that's the ultimate reality on them. You know, you can go somewhere and do that. I learned that in college. Something that is the supreme, final, and fundamental power in all reality. Now, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy describes it this way. What it takes to be ultimate is to be the most fundamentally real, valuable, or fulfilling among all that there is or could be. So when we're talking about reality, there are many realities.
The multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little.
The multiverse is real.
There's your own personal reality. Remember, I talked about myself thinking that I was like the most attractive guy in middle school, only to find out that was not true because I was living in my own reality. Maybe you went through a reality when you thought, hey, I am the best singer in the whole school, and you found out that wasn't the reality. Maybe you went to American Idol and they told you, not so fast. Maybe you want to take up cooking.
One of the worst I've ever heard in my life.
The worst?
Yeah.
Because the reality was you're not ready to be a singer. You're not going to be Taylor Swift after all. See, the ultimate reality is saying you take all these other realities and you can set them aside because none of them is fundamentally real, valuable, fulfilling among all that there is or could be. Part of being spiritual is being able to enter into the realm of true and ultimate reality. Now, some may be saying, man, I can't even get my head around that. Well, you need to start. Because we can't be people of faith when we basically say, I don't believe in the devil, I don't believe in the demon, I don't believe in the angels, I don't believe in heaven. You can't be a Christian like that. If you're living like that, you're basically someone who's just a rule follower who thinks this is the best philosophy to live by, and will never be capable of persuading anybody else because we're basically walking around with a different version of an academic text to argue. We don't want to argue, we want to be transformed. You know, there's 4 unreal movies that help us grasp the ultimate reality, I think. They help us retrain our mind so we can redefine reality. And that's what we have to do. When you're having a quiet time, retrain your mind and don't just read the book like it's an ordinary book. Understand that there is a set of realities going on, a set of spiritual things going on that we need to, instead of laugh at or disbelieve, we need to embrace and try to understand, to realize that we are not the center of the universe. Constantine's a good one. You can take a look at that movie. That one will freak you out. That one freaked me out. Constantine got Keanu Reeves in it. Harry Potter, all the Harry Potters. I know there are people out there, I don't like witchcraft. Harry Potter's not about witchcraft. It's about an unseen world. It's about the fact that the human senses are not dominant. It's an understanding there's something more than just us going on here. Bruce Almighty, it's a comedy. So after you watch Constantine and get freaked out, you might want to watch Bruce Almighty. I should say that the Bruce Almighty might calm you down. But Bruce Almighty with Jim Carrey, that can freak you out too, because Bruce gets to be God for a while. But it opens you up to a reality of who God might be, what God is like, what's going on. You're saying none of those things are true. See, there you go again. There you go. I'm not saying the movies are true. I'm saying they're unreal movies in the fact that they make us enter into a reality that really isn't the reality we live with daily. And finally, Star Wars. It just doesn't get any better than that. Now, the early ones are better than the later ones, but they all force us to look at the Force and look at the spiritual realm. And you see that conflict between Han Solo and Luke, where Han's is like, that's a bunch of junk. And Luke is like, no, this is the way. Oops, I just dropped a little "this is the way" on you. You know what that's from.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
4 unreal movies that help us retrain our minds so we can redefine reality. Have you had a quiet time, a time with God where you went, I got to retrain my mind. I got to stop walking as though I'm talking to myself when I'm praying. I've got to stop walking around and thinking that my argument is with a human being instead of asking the question, have the forces of darkness got in between me and my wife? Have the forces of darkness got in between me and my friends? Thanks for watching. This has been One Quick Thought.